Now let's take a look at using an auxiliary module in MSF console. We looked at using an exploit in the previous video. Using an auxiliary module is going to be very similar. It's just going to be a couple of differences. One, we don't need a payload. We aren't actually exploiting anything with an auxiliary module. Our auxiliaries are going to be used for various purposes. In this case, we're just going to gather some information. Particularly, we want to know which SMB pipes are listening on our XP target. So in our previous example, we saw that SMB pipe option. We actually see it here. I'm still in the context of that MSO067 exploit here. If I do a show options, I can see the SMB pipe option, which by default is set to browser. And in the previous video, I just told you to believe me that that is correct. That may not always be the case. If we look at the description here, we also have the option of using this RVSVC pipe as well. So browser may not always be correct, so there is an auxiliary module we can use that will attach to SMB and ask what the SMB pipes are. So basically just enumerate everything that's listening so we can see if browser is actually there. Of course, we know it is because the exploit worked, but in the future, we might want to check it out. I use auxiliaries a lot, particularly for verifying vulnerabilities. Let's say a vulnerability scanner found, I need to verify them manually. A lot of the Metasploit auxiliary modules are great for that. Of course, information gathering and some vulnerability analysis as well. So we'll use lots of auxiliaries throughout the class. There's even some servers we'll set up, like an SMB server for our post-exploitation for capturing some traffic and post-exploitation. So we'll see lots of auxiliaries. But let's just start with one. We can, of course, do the info command if we want to, but let's start with use this time. And again, you can drop off the word auxiliary and the first slash if you want to. But then you can't tab complete. So let's do auxiliary slash, and then I want scanner slash SMB slash pipe underscore auditor. Now if we show our options here, it's going to be a little bit different. For our auxiliaries, instead of our host that we see on our network exploits, we see our hosts with an S, so we can ask it to scan multiple hosts. In this case, we only want to scan one. There are many different ways we can specify those hosts. In fact, we even have it read from a file, which we'll do a bit later on when we're running through our pen test. For now, we'll just set our hosts with an S to the IP address of Windows XP. Again, make sure it's the IP address of your Windows XP and not mine, or else it undoubtedly will not work. SMB domain is set to workgroup. Our XP box is actually not a member of a domain. Our Windows 7 box is a member of a domain, but Windows XP is just a member of the workgroup, so we can leave that as is. It also has options for SMB pass and SMB user, so if we wanted to give it a username and password to authenticate as, we could do so. Here we're just interested in what pipes are available to the anonymous user, so we can use our MSO8067 exploit. So we can just leave those blank. We see they are not required, so we see no here for required. So we can just leave those blank and it will still work fine. We also see threads currently set to 1. If we wanted to scan lots of different hosts, we may want to up the threads, make it multi-threaded. We'll go faster in that case, but we're only scanning one host, so 1 is just fine. Again, we don't need to set a payload here. We're not actually exploiting anything. So we can say exploit. I always kind of just say exploit no matter what, but you can also say run for your auxiliaries. So run or exploit. Again, I always go with exploit. It always works. So easier for me to remember than having to know 2 commands, but you can do either. And not quite as exciting as exploit, of course, because all we did here was gather some information, particularly what named pipes are listening on that SMB server, and the only one that's listening is that browser pipe. So it's good that we left the named pipe, or SMB pipe as the option is called for the MSO8067 module. It's good that we left it as browser, because that is indeed the only one that's listening, so it's the only way it would work. So again, just a little information here. We'll use lots of auxiliaries throughout the class, but main points being that it's our hosts instead of our host, and it's also no payload required. Otherwise, you may see different options. Well, you will see different options depending on what the auxiliary is in this case, since it's talking to SMB. It had SMB domain, pass, and user. But say we were working with an FTP server, we would see different options. So the options, you can always do show options to see them, or are going to vary. But in general, using all the Metasploit modules is pretty much the same.